Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's been a while since I've cast this Terran bot. However, it's actually a random bot. It's gonna be Xena, one of the top bots out there, playing with cheeky cheese most of the time. And I've actually cast a little bit of this bot lately, making a name for itself, Mulebot. Seemingly up-and-coming Terran bot, gonna have to face the test that is Xena's cheese. A bunch of potential builds being highlighted by Xena there. And then Mulebot saying Marauder Panic, which seems to be a very interesting name for a build. We are on the map Interloper, the AI edition. And ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead and click that like button if you haven't already. If we can get 17 likes on this video for 17 SCVs that are currently out there for Mulebot, that would be amazing. And of course, leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bots. That helps with the YouTube bot. And just, yeah, I hope everyone is having a good new year and whatnot, but still is making some time to play some Starcraft. Now, as far as the builds go, Mulebot does seem like it could be heading towards a full-blown Marauder Panic, as it's already gone up to 3 barracks. Now, it is making a couple Marines, no Marauders in sight just yet. And there's the first mule being dropped by Mulebot. Xena, on the other hand, I mean, for the build, it looks like it's most likely going to be Cyclones, with double factories on the way. Now, I genuinely don't know what wins in a fight, Marauders or Cyclones en masse, because I actually don't know what has more range. I assume a Cyclone would be able to just lock onto a Marauder and then retreat, but if the Marauder can get one shot off, if it's got concussive shell, then it could potentially catch the Cyclones, if that's really the dynamic we're heading for. The first Marine for Mulebot is going to run across the map, and actually Xena is playing it quite greedy right now with no units itself. This Marine is going to shoot at that SCV that's trying to save this depot. Another SCV is coming on down, and oh man, that is a lot of SCVs. This Marine is about to meet a very gruesome death by metal drills. However, the Marine actually makes it on out of there, and then just hangs out at the bottom of this ramp and potentially goes home. Looks like we've got a bit of a graphical bug with our Hurricane engines maybe not being in this, maybe not being updated properly or something like that. Anyway, we do have, yeah, Hurricane thrusters for the Cyclones. And then those are just on the way out, en masse already. 3 Cyclones being made at a time. Meanwhile, Mulebot is just pumping out Marauders and Marines. So it's actually going to be very interesting to see how this battle is going to go. If the Marauders get one shot off on the Cyclone, they should be able to kill them. And then the thing is with Cyclones, you never really know how good they're going to be, is because they're one of the most patched units in StarCraft 2. Like one of the Marauders does tag one of the Cyclones, but then gets microed to death, so simply not enough units present to follow up on that, as Mulebot's units aren't exactly grouping properly. Another one of the Cyclones does get tagged and will actually go down. Now it's 1 versus 1, which the Cyclone should still win. Although this Marauder is chasing it down, trying to avoid the lock-on when the Marauder tries to run. That's where problems escalate. Mulebot invested in this bunker on the low ground, but it's not really doing anything with it. There's 2 Marauders now walking forward. Looks like Mulebot is actually just leaving its AI to be default right now, as these units are kind of just getting leashed and then hunted down. There is Marines and Marauders in the bunker now, which could definitely help out for Mulebot. Some of the Cyclones are taking damage, however, it looks like Mulebot is potentially just wanting to move across the map, as it really is just feeding units to their death right now. Xena does drop a scan to have high ground vision. Not the most important thing right now, but yeah, things are looking mighty, mighty rough for the red Terran bot. The bunker is going to buy it a little bit of time. Units in bunkers get 1 extra range, so they can potentially get some shots off on these Cyclones. Cyclones don't exactly cut through buildings like they used to without Magfield Accelerator. And the bunker is staying alive. Some of the units actually popped out of the bunker, which prevented it from being shot for a minute, which was cool. And a few of these Cyclones actually do end up going down, a good number of them, actually. So 7 dead Cyclones for 7 dead Marauders, 8 dead Marines. Not the worst trade in the world for Mulebot. Behind this, Xena is still just producing more and more Cyclones, though. I feel like we don't actually see that many bot Cyclones, aside from maybe like the odd 1 or 2 controlled by Micro Machine, whereas this is just strictly all Cyclones. Pardon me, apparently I had an alarm set that I didn't turn off. Because that's what I do when I wake up early, is decide to cast a little bit of Starcraft. Another Marauder is just about dead, deciding to move across the map. Mulebot is transferring SCVs to its natural, just surviving off the units it's producing now. A tank is out and is getting set up in a very nice position on the high ground, going to be able to shoot at those Cyclones, and that could be the saving grace for Mulebot to buy itself a good amount of time. Another Marauder against a Cyclone. When will they learn that they're not going to be able to take that fight? And looks like the tank on the high ground gets scanned to potentially be killed, but it takes quite a few Cyclones to volley down a tank real quick. And I do apologize. I feel like we don't have enough music playing right now. Sometimes the music in StarCraft 2, even though I have continuous music enabled, is very intermittent, it seems. A Marine is wandering across the map. And Mulebot is getting up towards the 3rd base, so surviving the chaos in order to actually play this game out macro-wise. There is still this tank on the high ground. Really the saving grace for Mulebot at this point, not having to worry about any more Cyclone shenanigans. Now Xena is getting into the next phase of its Cyclone shenanigans, though, which is seemingly adding in Ravens. We have to look at Xena's economy, though. It's simply not the best. It's only on 30 SCVs. That natural base is barely saturated, and it's having to mine so much gas. It's like the tank is still holding the line, as the Raven probably helped try and reveal that, but didn't really amount to much. There's also a Liberator that died at some point. Pardon me for not catching that. This tank is being repaired. Going to be shooting these Cyclones and securing the kill on them, allowing Mulebot just to be safe off the back of its 3 bases. Xena is now getting up its own 3rd, so better late than never, but it is definitely behind on workers. We see Xena's making nothing but Cyclones right now. No SCVs are being produced, and yeah, that is giving Mulebot quite an income advantage if we pull that up. And that's going to mean more stuff for Mulebot. The Terran bot is even got out another siege tank. It's getting Stimpack +1 attack. There is combat shield on the Marines, so they won't die as fast to the Cyclones now, which is very important. And Xena isn't exactly making that many Cyclones either, just because it does have this smaller economy. Like, if you're on 3 bases, you should be able to make a lot of Cyclones, but still only 38 SCVs are out for Xena. We've got the 1 tank from Mulebot crossing the map. A single SCV is coming with it. So this is a very interesting move. We'll see if it can get anything done, though, as it does actually kill that SCV. So going to delay that 3rd base. The Cyclone comes forward. The tank, unfortunately, gets really countered by this Cyclone. A Marine comes in to try and save the day, but the tank does go down. So unfortunately, that tank got checkmated. Now, behind this, Mulebot is getting up a Ghost Academy, which is very interesting, particularly in the TVT matchup. That's not something we see often. The Red Terran is on 4 bases, though, getting that established and just about done. I assume it'll be an orbital command, so it can make more mules and live up to its name. Although you never really know. It looks like the tank is actually just going to be Uno reverse carded again, and it's taking its time to shoot that other Cyclone. All of a sudden, Mulebot could be getting bullied a little bit here now that it's spread out. It's got Stimpack, which will help it try and chase down these Cyclones, but this 4th base is in a lot of trouble. That tank isn't repositioning, and Mulebot is investing in a lot of tech, stuff that isn't units right now. The single Marauder walks out. The Cyclones are doing a good job of fanning out and kiting that. More Marines are wandering forward, but they're just being gunned down. And where is all of Mulebot's stuff? The answer is it's got 2 tanks out, but they're not really in position. More Marauders are out as it's being pushed towards the 3rd base. The 4th is the main location for concern right now, as most of these SCVs are dying at the space. We've got a Thor on the way, which is interesting, that's for sure. As Cyclones don't actually kill Thors that fast, and who knows, maybe Mulebot will have a Medivac to support it. Marines are moving forward to try and save the day. Mulebot with the most nonchalant defense in the world, although a tank does come forward. However, we have seen Xena has that good control where it just runs its Cyclones on top of the tank, but with a few Marines to defend it, it looks like this tank could be fine, as the Cyclones can't just easily run on top of it. And so this tank really is saving the day once again, although it gets abandoned by its Marines. Marines, where are you? You gotta save your tanks, dudes. Looks like a few Marines do come in to barely save that siege tank. The Ravens are on full energy for Xena, but they're not exactly tossing out auto turrets, which is unfortunate, as that could be a lot of potential damage. That could be 8 turrets that could be thrown down instantly, but they're simply not, and the Thor kills them both off. So a rough position for Xena. A bit of odd situation all across the board. A Liberator is going to get set up. A Cyclone actually almost pads into that, but then the Liberator unsieges. More Marines are just trickling on out for Mulebot. Resources lost. Mulebot is behind, but now, I mean, it's making Thors. It's got tanks and Liberators out. I'm not too concerned for it. Xena's economy is finally starting to really take off, though. It's able to produce 8 Cyclones at a time, getting upgrades going for those as well. We've got a 5th base on the way for Mulebot 2. Now, it's like Mulebot is trying to push out slowly, bringing some SCVs to repair these units. This one Thor is really gonna get ganked there, as it just gets deleted by those Cyclones. I know I said Cyclones may not be the fastest at killing Thors, but they definitely got the job done there. And yeah, that wasn't exactly great for that Thor. The reason why they do extra damage actually is because they do have that bonus versus mechanical still. Thor is moving forward, trying to do what it can, and I mean, if it gets a shot off on a Cyclone, it will do lots of damage. We've got more tanks getting set up. There finally is a Medivac with this Thor, but where's it going? Why? Oh dear. One of the tanks does go down. The other is going to live to get some shots off. A random Ghost wanders forward. I believe it did EMP the Ravens. Not that the Ravens are really utilizing their spells. Mulebot is taking many more bases while this is going on, though. There's 4 mules on the map at a time right now, really giving it a nice boost in the income. This one tank is the lifeline for Mulebot, though. Like, Mulebot, it doesn't actually have that much stuff. It's got 68 army supply. It's got a random amount of Marines and Liberators on the map, kind of just repositioning in a very bizarre fashion, but able to get some success against these Cyclones and actually kill some of them off. Meanwhile, this base is in trouble. Another tank is going to come forward to try and save the day, though, and it is going to get some shots off, but this command center is burning. It is now having a full-blown meltdown. I think it probably tried to cancel that orbital so it could lift off. It will simply die instead, though. Tanks unsiege at the wrong time, so one of them isn't firing as the Cyclones spill forward. This is one of the more wacky bot games I've seen in a while. The Thor is doing what it can. There is Liberators all over the place, and like, the Liberators are actually doing surprisingly decent for themselves as the Cyclones pad on into them. Mulebot still dropping more mules as this chaos goes on. There's personal cloaking on the way for Ghosts. That could help out. I mean, probably not, though, as there's mass Ravens for Xena. Xena's even getting armor and +3 attack for its Cyclones now. A Thor is in trouble, and it will die. The Liberators are doing a good job zoning out the Cyclones, though, as they simply don't seem to have the programming to handle these too effectively. Xena's Cyclone control has been pretty decent, but Liberators, a very odd unit, are not too surprisingly difficult for the bot to deal with. Mulebot has got, oh, it's up to 6 bases right now. It hasn't rebuilt that one that it's lost. It's making 2 Thors. We've got 3-2 upgrades on the way. I imagine the bio's just going to be getting better and better against this composition, but this really is a bizarre game because both bots have been on relatively small supplies the whole time. Cyclones still pathing through. Liberators want to place your bets on how many dead Cyclones. The answer is 73. Enough Cyclones do come forward to kill off that Liberator. Marines are doing what they can, but in come the Cyclones. They're not really bothered about the Liberator, though, and that's why they're just getting free shots off as the Cyclones are focused dealing with the Marines for the most part, it seems, and they're actually getting quite a nice snowball going. It really is just the tanks that have been doing work for Mulebot, and those are all dead now. So the Cyclones may actually start to improve their fortune. Mulebot is still pumping out lots of Marines and Thors, but those units just die as the Cyclones get pretty fantastic trades against them. The Liberators are doing well, picking off these Cyclones. They're able to two-shot Cyclones. Thor's just getting deleted, though, so Liberators are the MVP for Mulebot. That is for sure right now. Xena is having a hard time dealing with them. Still, though, both these bots have quite impressive economies still, while significant. Xena definitely will need to take a 5th base at some point soon, but they're both still able to just pump out lots of units. A scan goes down to actually kill that Liberator. Good use of the scan. And let's see, this Thor is going to pop out, but probably going to die rather quickly as the Cyclones, they take a bit of damage, but then they just micro back. The Thors act like the Cyclones are actually microing in such a fashion, interestingly enough, that it seems that the Thor's only getting half a shot off, which is not something that you see too often in StarCraft 2. I want to say, like, unless I'm crazy, it looks like some of those Cyclones were only taking like one shot from the Thor, getting out of range, and then going back in, which, yeah, is interesting, because Thors are one of the units with split attacks, but like 99% of the time, they get that second shot off. But that's an interesting microdynamic. More Liberators are popping on out, saving the day for Mulebot, keeping the resources lost fairly close to each other. It's 25,000 to 20,000. Xena is getting up a 5th base, though. That's going to give it more steam in this game. We've got a few Marines attacking the 3rd base of Xena. We'll see if it's going to react to that or not. It does send out some of its reinforcements to deal with it, which is cool to see. That's not an easy thing to program, to keep your bot fighting on the front while also having it deal with harassment back at home. I mean, if bots were good at that, they'd just be god tier at the game. Cyclones are moving forward, however, these Liberators are getting set up in very, very nasty positions. Mulebot is doing pretty darn good for itself, holding the line right now. What a wacky match. The Terran bot is producing 13 Marines at a time, getting out more tanks, more Liberators. These Liberators getting sieged up in these choke points could actually just be catastrophic for Xena. The blue Terran bot has 23 Cyclones out right now, which are just dispatching the bio incredibly easily. But then there's these Liberators causing problems. They've got advanced ballistics, and they are getting some nice shots off. One tries to be a hero, but yeah, the Liberators are just so clutch right now for Mulebot as it pushes forward. Xena really struggling to deal with these all game. The Cyclones destroy the Thors so easily, but they do keep pathing into the Liberators. And Liberators are not the unit I thought that would be the hero in this game. I thought maybe tanks, and maybe the Marauders with concussive shell, but no, it turns out the Liberators inching forward are just messing with the pathing of Xena too much. They're a unit that you gotta pretty much dive in to deal with, but it's not that easy when you programmed a bot that plays with a unit that functions almost entirely on its ability to retreat. So that's why Xena's having such a hard time right now. Mulebot is closing on in what's the Liberator count? It's currently up to 9, and we've seen Xena deal with 1 or 2, but 9 Liberators set up with advanced ballistics now. They are just absolutely massacring everything. Xena loses its 5th base. Mulebot has all the other bases. There's currently 7 mules out on the map because Mulebot loves mules and seems to have played quite a nice game. The pathing of the units for Mulebot at the start of the match made me a little bit concerned, but it was able to hold on thanks to the few tanks. And yeah, Xena is in a very rough spot right now. The economy is faltering, the trades aren't there, and now that Mulebot has really reached critical mass on supply, the Cyclones just fall off like they do in a ladder game or a pro match. And yeah, Mulebot really making good use of the Liberators too. I gotta say, like, this inch forward approach is not an easy thing to program either, I imagine, so that is really cool to see. Xena's being backed in towards its 4th base. A Thor gets deleted as they've been getting killed all game. But oh man, what Xena wouldn't do for a couple Vikings right now. As, yeah, the Liberators are just doing so much work. The Cyclones are trying to move forward. They're just getting all deleted. And I think that this is a pretty clear victory for Mulebot at this point. The 3rd base is being worked on. Maybe a Thor is actually going to get some work done before it dies. as the biostims forward for Mulebot. Xena having a bit of a rough time. And yeah, really well done by Mulebot. Very cool strategy for Xena. I don't think we see it play with mass cyclones too often, so it was very cool to see, and I see how this strategy could definitely work sometimes. But the third's dead. The fourth will be dead soon. The natural is getting pushed. Liberator is sieging on up on that ramp. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this wacky bot game, make sure to go ahead and click that like button. If you want to get daily bot videos, go ahead and subscribe. If you watched all the way to the end of this but you're not a subscriber, what are you doing? And leave a comment saying more bots. I believe that's pretty much the whole spiel. If you do want to support the channel, help me get PC upgrades and whatnot, as my PC is getting a bit old, you can join the YouTube membership program, or there is a PayPal link down below. As, yeah, that is pretty much that, as Mulebot goes for the final kill. Xena down to 4 supply. It's got a Raven left. The Raven's not really doing anything. Who knows, maybe Xena would have won that game if the Ravens were just tossing out auto turrets willy-nilly, but the lack of that really hurt it. I don't know if it was waiting for an interference matrix like upgrade that never came or what, but yeah, the lack of the turrets being used is unfortunate. Units should never have 200 energy in Starcraft 2 pretty much, and so that's unfortunate. So a rare significant oversight with Xena, I'll say, or bug, whatever it is. Still though, a great game nonetheless. Thors finally can have some success. 13 Thors died this game. GG.